In the previous session, we had covered the eigenvalue linear buckling analysis, and here we will try to go with the nonlinear kind of a buckling analysis, considering the nonlinear material data into account. And this can even include the nonlinear geometric effects also. Let's deep dive into that. First thing is you need to define the nonlinear material for doing the nonlinear analysis. So where we are trying to do the nonlinear kind of buckling analysis. Yeah. So it's a kind of a simple and easy analysis. So it's kind of a like if you just see the name nonlinear buckling, so we don't need to deal with a lot of parameters or stuff like that. It's just define the nonlinear material and just run the kind of a static structure analysis by just defining the few additional parameters that will ultimately help us to capture the nonlinear behavior. Now, for that, I need to define the material data. So how do I do it? Either I can directly drag and drop the static structure analysis and define the material there. But what I would recommend is just try to have a new engineering data where you can link multiple analysis and try to use the same material data. That will help us a lot. So now we have the engineering data with us. So now I need to define the material data for this. So what I'll do is I'll just double click on this, and here we have the default material called structural steel, and for this only I would like to define the nonlinear material. So what it should have is the details about the plasticity region. So we have the elastic region, so where we have kind of a single Poisson's ratio and strain details. But now here we need to define the stress versus strain curve with respect to change in stress, and also how the strain is going to change is what the details we need. So for that, what you need to do is, so this is the toolbox where you have all the properties. So now I'm going to deal with the plasticity in my material. So for that, we have different material models. So we have the bilinear, multilinear, nonlinear, isotropic hardening. Yeah. And then we have the bilinear kinematic hardening also. So what I would do now is go with the multilinear isotropic data. So you just need to double click on it, and here I need to enter the data. So you people ask me now from where we are going to get this data. So if you're going to deal with any of the medium scale industry or small scale industries, they will have the data and they will give it to you people. And now for this study purpose, I'm trying to get the data from the internet, so which we will just refer as a standard and proceed further. Okay. So now what I would do is, anyway, I have the material data with me. So I'll just go back here. Now here you could see I have the data here. I can simply copy this. So from here to here, hold the shift and select these. I'm going to just use the copy option. Okay. And I'll switch back to this one here, and just double click on this data and have the data pasted here. Okay. You could see stress, it should be in the form of megapascal. So I need to redefine this. So let me just delete this again and get it back. Just change it to megapascal. Now you may paste it again, and you have the data. From 250 it's 0, at 450 megapascal we have 0.22, and this is the curve what we have it. And based on this, our geometry will try to consider this data and try to proceed further. Okay. Now we have the data defined. Now I should deal with the nonlinear analysis. So for that, you don't need to search for nonlinear analysis here. You can directly take the static structural workbench and you just link the material for this. Just need to drag and drop it on this. This material will be loaded here. Okay. Now I need the geometry. I'll just take the same geometry what I had it before. Okay, support frame. I'll just enter into the material modeling workbench. Okay, so this is the geometry which we have it. First and foremost thing is the material. You can see we have the same material what we have defined, and it's a kind of a single solid body. We don't need to deal with the contacts. And now I need to assign the mesh for this. For that, I'll just change the unit system, and I'll go ahead with the method and as well as the sizing option for this. Because if I directly go with the normal mesh, it will define the kind of trials on the model. I'm looking for a kind of a hexa or a quad elements on it. So just geometry you need to select here, and in the method I need to define hex dominant. In this case, it will try to take the quad elements in 2D. Okay. Now in the sizing, again you need to define the geometry, and element size I would like to keep it 50. Yeah. And with this mesh, we will see how the geometry looks like. It should be as we had used previously for the eigenvalue buckling. Okay. This looks fine. I think there's no issues with this mesh. Pretty good to proceed further. Now here, as usual, you just need to define the boundary conditions. So let me just go with the fixed support, and that should be on this face. And also I would like to take this face as a reference. Means I would like to fix the support at the bottom, and this is just a kind of experimental data. The geometry, it might tend to even bend here. This linear might even bend like this, so I would not have that kind of a behavior when it comes to realistic poles. So to incorporate that behavior, I'm just trying to fix this also, so that this kind of region, horizontal region, should get into the bending effect. Okay, just for information, that is what I'm trying to deal here. Now for the deformation, I would like to go with the displacement instead of the force. So I'll just go with the displacement, and here the phase is this one, and I'll apply it here. Very important thing is the loading should be towards negative y. So I'll just apply minus 100. Okay, so I think we have defined the same data in the previous example in linear eigenvalue buckling analysis. So we'll try to take the similar data and proceed further. And the boundary condition, we kept it same. So x also, it is free to move back and forth, and along z also it can even rotate, it can even translate. So I'm just trying to keep it free here. Okay, in this case, with this I would like to extract the stress, and also the strain, also the total deformation. It's anyway whatever I have defined, no need for that. Now before getting into further solving this, as we are going to deal with the nonlinear, very important thing is you need to set few parameters here in the analysis settings. So you should go here. First thing is number of steps. It is asking 1, and end step is 1 second. In the sense, if I try to change here, if I make it 10 seconds will happen. Okay, so now instead of changing these things, what I would like to do is I'll just directly go with the auto time stepping on, and here I would like to define the substeps. Initially it should run for 20 substeps, and minimum it should run 10 minimum for each and every step, and maximum substeps it can go up to 100 to get the conversions. Okay, this is what I'm looking for, and the end time is 1 second itself for me. Now with this here, very important thing is last deflection. As it's nonlinear, I would like to turn it on actually. Okay, this settings is very important, and later you can even play with the substeps and try to deal with the nonlinear analysis by modifying these data and run multiple iterations and try to get what you're looking for. Now what happens here is, if you see the displacement here, At 0 seconds is 0. At exactly 1 second, it goes for directly 100 mm, minus 100 mm. So it's a kind of sudden deformation we are trying to uh, include in this model. Let's see now with this boundary conditions how our geometry is going to uh, uh, what operate. So let me solve this. Okay, now we have the results here. Let's try to deep dive. First thing is I have the equivalence stress, and if I see here, I could able to see the component is trying to kind of buckle here, right? And if I show you the animation, could able to see it directly start kicking here, and after a certain time it might even fail here. And you could see it is still the load bearing capacity is high. The curve is going like this itself, it is still keep on increasing because we have the curve up to 400. Okay, now what we'll do is for 100 mm it is only kind of buckling only a kind of a small extent. To see the realistic kind of behavior, I'll just try to increase the value here. Instead of 100, let us go with 500 and see. You can even increase it to more. Let us see 700. Okay, now with this data, let me again directly fire this. Okay, I'm not going to change anything. I'll just go with this data. And if you want to see how it is or like if you want to see the force convergence plot, this is how it shows. So what is happening with respect to force, where it is bisecting, okay, where it is trying to converge for each and every sub step. Okay, so now we have the results. Let's deep dive. This is the kind of a stress, and you could see this is how it is deforming. Yeah, so you can even play. Could see. And if you go further, definitely it will buckle here, and this region tend to fail. And you could also see the curve. So it comes here, and at this region it reaches the peaks, it start buckling, and then it start taking the kind of lower loads. Yeah, then it has already failed here due to this buckling, and then it tries to again take the loads based on the other region impacting on that particular loading condition. So now if this is going to fail, then the stop reps are going to support the loads, the remaining loads, and this is trying to take that load, and ultimately after a certain time this will also fail. And this particular non-linear data what we have, it doesn't have the element deletion things, and it doesn't have the kind of a failure mechanisms in it. So yeah, so it just shows you the buckling formation here with the whatever the stress strain data we have it. And here if you want, even you can still make the modifications and try to run the analysis. Let's say if this is not going to give you a results perfectly, let's say here you could say sometimes instead of buckling outside it can even go inside, it can even happen convex. Yeah, so in that case what I should do is you can just simply duplicate this study, and the displacement try to change it. Let's say for zero 0.5 second I would like to go with only minus 10, and here at the end I would like to go with the minus 1000. Okay, means I'm trying to give us some time for it. Instead of applying load in one shot, I'm just trying to apply it kind of a gradual one, not exactly gradual. I'm just giving some time for it to have the kind of a modification. So I think with this load case the solver didn't run properly. So let's do one thing instead of 1000. So let me go with the minus 500 and see. Clear this data and submit it again. Yeah, so whatever the setting we have defined is not working in this case. So what I would like to do is instead of 10, let's take it 100, and here it has 500 and retry this. Yeah, this plays very important role while dealing with the inputs. So if you couldn't able to define a right approach to solve your uh, analysis, so the inputs is kind of wrong, then your results will not be what you're looking for. So right boundary condition application is very important while dealing with the CA world. And again, one more important thing is if you're trying to again replicate the exact scenario, in that case you might end up in having some other results, so that also you need to think in. Yeah, we have the results for this now. Yeah, it again remains the same. You could see it starts there and it directly initial 0.5 seconds it's gradual and then it starts sudden. Yeah, like this you can just deal with the nonlinear analysis and we can get the results. So yeah, so from this what we could conclude is whatever the eigenvalue buckling results we had it there, we had already seen that this was prone and here this is also was prone to buckling, and from this analysis we could conclude that linear eigenvalue buckling is may not be accurate all the time, so we might need to check the 3 to 4 eigenvalue buckling modes, and based on that we might need to run the nonlinear buckling analysis to get the more precise results to conclude it. So we cannot directly trust the eigenvalue linear buckling analysis is what the conclusion I would like to put it forward here. Well, that's all. Thank you.